Well, hello, Delcoa.
Hi, Chris.
How you guys doing tonight?
Most excellent.
Good. Don't all answer at once.
And we're all afraid to talk over each other.
Yeah.
I know.
We're all trying to be polite.
That's always a possibility, but even if we do, we'll work it out. I'm sure it'll be fine. Well, thank you guys for taking the time to talk to me tonight. I'm super excited about this. This is the first time I'm trying it. It's a brand new thing. And how does it feel to see for you all to see each other all in one space on a screen?
So good.
Yeah, man.
It's so good to see you guys. I don't think we've done this since
Ever.
yeah, since the Delcoa reunion of that last one we did at the Tempe Center for the Arts. I don't think I've seen you guys all in the same room.
That is
Right.
correct.
Feels real good.
Awesome. And then I've got Ethan's t-shirt here, so in a sense he's kind of hanging out with us. Kathleen was
I was
nice
gonna
enough
say.
to send this to me. Yeah, this is one of Ethan's. I usually don't wear band shirts of bands that I don't listen to a whole lot, but I figured this would be, I didn't want to be a poser, but
We'll
this
give you a
is
hall pass.
one of those rare exceptions. All right, guys. Well, there might be people watching or listening who aren't familiar with Delcoa. So can you introduce yourself and what instrument you played in the band? And I'll let you sort out who goes first.
Ladies first.
Miyamo SJ, Jay Allen. I am singer and guitar player for Delcoa.
I'm Ashley Norton, and I was a singer for Delcoa. That's it.
Tony, who are you?
Well, I am Tony King, and I was the drummer in Delcoa. A little bit of background vocals.
Jay Poole, I was the other guitar player in Delcoa, and I think I did a couple of oohs and ahs. Maybe not. I can't remember.
Well, it's great to see all of you together again, man. It reminds me of, being back in AZ and seeing you all individually and together as a group performing as Delcoa. So it's really special that you guys were able to get with me tonight and talk about our brother Ethan a little bit.
Feels like a Wrigley Sunday is back.
There you go.
Hey,
Yeah.
it is Sunday now, isn't it?
We'll get into the Wrigley stuff, but
well done.
Those were fun for everyone all around, dude, to watch it, and sure for you guys to be on the stage and be performing for it as well.
Yes, Jay Poole, you were the oohs and the ahs. I heard it from many of the crowd.
I didn't mean those oohs and ahs, Tony, but
I know.
Background vocals, but yeah.
Hey, y'all sing some lead too. Did some lead too. Jay did some Jimi Hendrix song, right?
Oh, that's right. When you guys didn't want to sing for like one song.
So I'm guessing that Ethan probably sang a song or two as well. So all of you at some point sang, while you were performing.
Yes.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, that was one of the cool things. There were 5 of us, and we all could sing, and we all could sing harmonies. So it was just like this huge wall of sound just all around. It's awesome.
Great. And I know that Jay and Tony are incorporating that in JTM3 now, and you guys are sounding awesome. Sounds great. So that's good, man. Well, so how long was Delcoa together? Like from what year to what year did you guys exist officially or unofficially?
So Delcoa was together for about 5 years, I would say. Around 2004, late 2004, early 2005 was when I stumbled back into Arizona mid-year 2004. And I know on my podcast, I told the story of how I met Ethan the day that I had left for Costa Rica, or the very, very beginning of 2004 in early January. And then 6 months later, stumbled back into, whatchamacallit?
Julian's.
That's right. Yeah. That there at the Scottsdale Air Park, and stumbled back in there, and of course the tapped on the shoulder and Costa Rica, and I was like, yeah, holy shit. And
that was Ethan.
Yes, no, from that moment on, Ethan remembered me somehow. from when I look at that crazy Emma rapper. There he was.
Oh, I love that picture.
He
Good one.
yeah, so I started playing the open mics there at what's the name of the place again, Tony?
Jillian's.
Jillian's. Jeez. Yeah, so I was started doing the open mics, and Ashley Leslie was coming into there with all her friends from Forelli's when she was working there. And
Yep, with your ex-girlfriend.
yeah.
Mhm.
That's why we stumbled in. She's like, "You gotta meet my boyfriend, Jay.
Yeah,
You
Laura
guys to do this open mic."
and we you would hop up, and Ethan like got you to come up and sing a bunch, and you kind of started coming through like very regularly within a couple of weeks. Ashley and I reached out to Ashley, or we were talking at Jilly's, and you I was like, hey, I've got this brand new gig that I would love to see if you wanted to come sing with me. And you were gracious enough to say, yeah, I'll come sing some songs with you. And I think we did a few at the open mic together, but Pasta Pomodoro was our first gig together as Jay and Ash. And for the next few months, or not few months, for the next few months to a year, we started playing as Jay and Ash. Had a short Soulfish run with Pete Sergiera. And but for the most part, it was Jay and Ash. We even traveled a little bit, but we started writing stuff. We got our first like real gig together at Armitage up in DC Ranch, and which was on Sundays. Sundays became a very special night for all of us, pretty much for all the years of Jay and Ash and Delcoa. But yeah, we started playing at Armitage. We recorded a little live record and had some songs that we were writing. And of course, through all that, Ethan and Todd being part of Jilly's, that was kind of a mainstay that we remained to go to every Sunday. We had our I think it was like Wednesdays at Pasta Pomodoro. We started our Sunday nights at Jilly's, and we yeah, it was amazing. You have anything to add to that, Ashley?
It's really this is one of the things I was looking forward to about this is like what stories we remember correctly and which not. I mean, all that's pretty spot on. Yeah. I remember, meeting Jay at the open mic and just being like super excited because I didn't play guitar at the time. I do now, but at the time, I mean, I kind of did, but not very well. And Jay played amazingly, and I was like, oh, he wants to do some stuff and I want to do some stuff. It'd be so cool to do this, like duo together. And then I remember we would just like pick Ethan's brain to no end because we would kind of get together and we'd rehearse some stuff when we were working on our originals, and we were like, yeah, you know what, like we could. I remember we were sitting at Pasta P one night and we were like, they make like $300 or $400 a night playing as a duo. Like we could do that. And like that amount of money just seemed like insane to us at the time. And we're like, we could do that. We could, and Ethan was like, yeah, you can do that. And he would sit us down and be like, yeah, these are the places you could play. This is the kind of stuff you guys could put together. And then, and yeah, and so we kept doing it. And then, and we kept, we were like, probably not as good as we thought we were back then, but we were working towards stuff. And then we were like, maybe Ethan will join our band. We could start a
So
band.
how long was it from the point that Jay, that Ethan recognized you from Costa Rica, that you had come back from Costa Rica, and you and Ashley had kind of done the Jay and Ash thing, and then started writing music, and then Ethan said, hey, why don't we all play together? Like, what was the time period between the open mic where you guys first met and then when you said, we're going to make a band and I know the best drummer ever? When did that, like, what was that time period? What cushion?
Accurate.
I'm pretty sure pretty much the rest of 2004, like for the first couple of months after I got back, I moved back to Phoenix in May of 2004. I couldn't like date wise, I know that for the rest of that year, like Ashley and I met at Jilly's during that time of through the end of 2004. And by the end of 2004, I believe we had our gigs. Like we had our Pasta P gig and we had our Armitage gig. And as Ashley said, we were utilizing like the tutelage of Ethan and Todd and kind of being like, hey, what else can we do? Like, where else can we play? And
Cafe Portobello
people
was
really
the other
pay us
one.
that much money. Oh my gosh. And yeah, I can't even
We
remember.
didn't quite make that much. We were when we were starting out. We didn't quite reach the 300-400 mark, but
Right. Well, and the more members of a band, it deletes the cash, right? So that
Yeah.
was like 5 years that the band was active. So you're talking, we'll call it 2005 to around 2009, 2010. Would you say that's a pretty fair run of the beginning and end of Delcoa?
Around 2010 is probably like, when did you move to Nashville? Do you remember actually the exact year?
20 technically it wasn't until 2012.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think when did we make our first album? Because I don't think we were a band like before we met Jay Poole. We made an album.
Yeah,
at
we
Right.
did that
Living
at Living Head. I want to say 2006 is when we were.
Yeah, that sounds right. And then I think we released that in 2007, and then right or something like that.
So Jay Poole came along. Jay, you came along after the first album.
Oh yeah.
Now, for some reason, I was thinking that did you produce the first album, Jay? Jay, did you have anything to do with it at all?
I
Is
had
that why the
nothing to
second
do with
album
it.
sounds way better?
Obviously, that's why
They
the
both
first one
sound
sounds
great,
a lot
but
better
It
and has a
does.
lot less guitar on it.
you did produce the second. You produced the second album, though, right, Jay?
I don't want to say I produced it, but we recorded it here.
Jay
Okay.
produced it.
Yeah,
All right.
So, and you know, maybe when they left after doing things, I would sit down and play with stuff and add more guitars. So,
Baby.
That reminds me of that
Maybe.
Tenacious D skit, where Gage comes in and finds him playing flute on the late at night or whatever. So you'd go in and kind of like add to the tracks or whatnot.
JP, how many tracks? Like there was one track in particular that you would joke but seriously about how many takes you did. Do you remember that number?
Yeah, it was 437.
What? Are you serious? Or are you joking
It
around?
was. Yeah, I was no. I still have
Take on
it.
what?
It was, I think it might have been one of the guitar solos. So it might have been might have been Fishing, actually. Fishing 4. Yeah, I had like a specific sound in my head and it just never was happening. So since it's my place, I can do 400 takes. And
is it safe to say that Jay Poole is the perfectionist of the bunch?
we all are. We all are.
Okay.
I don't think I did a total of 437 takes the entire time of the.
Yeah.
I think I
in
got
your
like
whole
3.
recording career. So when you guys were active for those 5 years, what do you feel set you apart from the other bands that were playing in the scene at the time? Compared to your contemporaries that were out there.
Tony King.
I was gonna say Tony. I would love to hear Tony's response to this.
He played with everybody at that time.
Right.
I don't know if I guess what set us apart from most of the bands that I feel that were playing out there is we could take somebody's cover and make it our own. And so when we would play one of our own songs, people, one of the greatest compliments would someone saying, "Hey, who did that song? Whose song is that?" And for us to say it was ours, they were just, "What? No, really?" So I think we were able to take a little bit of somebody else's song and just make it our own, as were people. Some of the bands I was playing with were trying to play it just like the record.
I'll kind of add to that, and I think the nice thing is we probably did maybe 50 to 60% originals, and Ashley's and Jay's tunes, and they were all good songs. So it's not like sometimes you hear the originals and you're like, they're original. The material was really, really strong. So I think that's what separated us. We had a lot of freedom, both with the covers and, and the original stuff. Jay and Ash would both kind of let me do whatever I wanted for the most part, which was kind of great. And yeah, so having that freedom and, actually having people show up and appreciate what we were doing was pretty amazing.
Well, another thing I was curious about, Jay, you're such an accomplished guitar player and so tasty with the riffs and that kind of thing. All of you are great musicians, but before Jay Poole came along, I'm assuming I think Ashley, maybe you were telling me during our interview. I've talked to so many people that if I get it jumbled up, but was it just Ethan playing solo on his bass kind of thing? Or what was that dynamic before Jay Poole?
There's a really funny. There's a super funny story with that because Ethan would take a lot of the solos. I think Jay Allen would take some of them, but Ethan would take a ton of bass solos, and he's like still probably the only bass player I can think of that could actually take a tasty bass solo that like is actually cool. But no disrespect to anyone listening who plays bass, but there was a time, I can't remember the name of the bar, but we played a gig as the four of us, and he looks at me and he goes, I was like, yeah, that was great solo. And he goes, do you think I take too many bass solos? And I go, maybe. And he looked at me like he was so offended. Like he does the Ethan bass. He went like that. And I was like, yeah. And I was like, oh shit, no, but no, it's cool. And I think that was the moment that he was like, okay, we really need a lead player. I think that's when he like actively thought of
And so Ethan came to you, right, Jay, to and approach you about possibly performing. How did that conversation go?
No, I was playing with you.
Yeah,
I was playing with Jay.
Yeah, in the walk-ins. And
so it wasn't Ethan, it was Tony.
Tony, and
I will say, if I can,
ahead, Tony. Yeah.
No, I'm just saying that you and I were playing together with the walk-ins, because on the first record we had Alan Chadwick play a little bit on Roots, Bridges, and Branches, and we also had what's his name, the country guitar player, Mike Breen.
Oh, Mike Breen.
So they probably played a couple songs on the first record, and then when Jay and Ash and Ethan and I were talking about adding something, I was like, I think Jay Poole would be a really good fit. And Jay, you were like the icing on the cake to just like kind of bring everything together.
It was so great. I think I invited myself to the audition. I might have forced myself on it a little bit, but I just knew I wanted to play with these guys because it was original music, which I love. And, I didn't have to do exactly what was on the record, which is really never what I do really well anyway. So, yeah, it was awesome.
So it was a smooth transition bringing Jay in. All the personalities fit well. You guys all appreciated his musicianship.
Although
it go pretty smooth.
I got to tell you, I never knew up until today that I took away all of Ethan's bass solos. So sorry, buddy.
That was something I texted Chris about today. So I was like, I was like, it'd be fun to like find out stuff about Ethan in particular, like the band that maybe we didn't know before.
I did not know I took away all his solos.
He was happy to give them to you.
Well, you guys have the same amount of strings on your guitar. It's fine.
There you go.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ethan would use all 6 of those strings too, man. It's crazy.
Yep.
Well, okay, so where did the name Delcoa come from? I mean, I know the story, and anyone who's following the podcast may have heard a couple different versions, but I want to hear it from all you guys at once. Let's talk about. And before you tell us where Delcoa came from, can you remember any of the doozies you came up with before you came across Delcoa?
Jay Allen, you got to take this.
Soulfish, which
Soulfish. Okay.
Ashley and myself and Pete Cerchiera, wherever
he was the guy who would always show up at the open mics playing.
Play consistently over everybody that played at open mic.
He did. Yeah, he played over me a couple times. Yeah, I remember that. Pete. Nice guy though. Seemed like a
very nice guy. Political activist from the last I saw of him in any way, shape, or form. But yeah, so Soulfish. But TK, I want you to field this one, man, because essentially, Abe Delcoa came from I honestly couldn't tell you at this point some of the doozies that did not become the band name. Thank God.
Oh, I remember.
Anybody else has
Well,
any?
did you
Oh.
guys have like 242 or something like that?
Hux 42.
Yes.
Right. 42.
Say it again. Tux 42?
UX 42.
Ux 42. Okay, what was that about?
No idea. Don't remember.
Jay, it was something I can't remember where the 42 came from. It was something
42 is my lucky number. I probably would have thrown 42 into anything.
okay.
Like, it's so cool.
Yeah, I think that was it. It's like, and then we get like tuxedo imagery.
Or tuxedos 42 times a year.
Now,
So I
you
think
were playing out before you had the name Delcoa, though, right? With the four of you, Ethan, Tony, Jay, Ashley.
Really? No, not really. I don't think we
Okay.
had gigs that were under any other name other than maybe Jay and Ash. Nothing that was like billed as anything else. But I do remember us like, and everything happened pretty organically. Like we were wanting to record a fair amount of like the songs that Ashley and I started to have that were like, man, we've got these are really good songs. Let's talk to Ethan. I remember specifically you and I having the conversations, Ashley, about like let's go talk to Ethan and see if he'll play bass with us on these records, or where, and also where can these. We were so green at the time, like it was just like Ethan was pretty much just like, well, all right, we want to take this next step. Let's go talk to Ethan, and we'll see what he says.
That's
And
what we'll
I
do.
remember specifically in the game room at my parents' house, which is still a rehearsal space that I use to this day, that I remember you and I sitting him down and being like, hey, so we've got these songs, and we showed him some of the songs, and we were like, we want to record these. Would you be down to like play bass? And also, do you know it, like, can you get us a drummer? And we had actually not met Tony. I think we'd seen you play, but had not really fully met you at that point. And I want to say that was early 2005, late 2004, that we had made Ethan come over to my folks' place, and we're like, hey, give us some guidance, and also, will you be in our band, and will you get a drummer? Who's the other counterpart? And TK was that guy.
And when Ethan left, Jay and I were like, cool, man, bye, thanks. And we're just at the door. We're like,
Oh, totally. Dude.
Oh yeah.
we've made it.
Okay, so when Ethan came in, was he like, none of those names are gonna work? You need something else, or did he not have an opinion? Or
At
when
the
did
time,
Delcoa finally?
still Jay and Ash at the time, and then
Okay.
I don't gosh, it was such a haze at the time, but like I do remember when he had Tony, like we got together and showed them the songs that we were like, we want to record these 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 songs. And but Tony was who came up with the name. Whenever it was like, I guess we're a band, and we were talking about names, but TK, you can field what.
How'd that go down, Tony?
I just remember us being in the game room at Jay's parents' house, and the drums are always in this little tight corner, and on this pool table was the 42, the Tux 42, and all these like names. I go, what is, like, oh, this is what Jay and Ash, or what our think would be a pretty cool band name. And I'm looking at, I'm like thinking to myself, that's not cool. But Jay's parents' house is on the street. The name of the street is called Delcoa, and I just thought that was like a really cool name. So I'm just sitting there. I'm like, why don't we call the band Delcoa? We're always here rehearsing. That'd be a pretty cool name. And they're just like, yeah, I think that could work. That's kind of cool. And then then Delcoa came all this. To me, it felt like a snake. So I just sing all like Delcoa Constrictor and all this stuff that's at the end of the first CD. Is it the first CD? Is it the
Yes.
first
Yeah.
one?
Yep.
Yeah. But that's kind of where the name that's where the name came from, is the street that Jay's rehearsal studio, where his parents were, the street that he grew up on.
And
That
it's
was
not for
Delcoa.
everyone right away.
Yeah,
I think so.
I remember. I'll never forget that moment. Like, it's like vivid, and Tony's sitting behind the drum kit going, "Hey, why don't we just call it Delcoa?" Like, I'll never forget that. I could see it clear
Right.
as day, and we were like, "Yeah, why don't we just call it Delcoa?"
It works.
Easy peasy.
Very cool. Okay, so one of the things that people who follow bands or are interested in bands, one of the things that they don't see, some of the behind the scenes kind of stuff, is there's business that needs to be taken care of, right? Whether it's done well or not. But how did the day-to-day business activities of the band go down? I know that makes it sound more formal than it probably really was, but like bookings, promotion, arrangement, stuff like that. Did you guys have a manager, or was it like all? Yeah, did you
I think it was
invest
all
in a
Jay and
manager?
Ash.
Yeah, man. Ashley and Jay did 99% of the booking and all of the hard work.
And what was
Yeah.
that experience like for you guys? Jay
She
and
was a
Ash?
machine, man.
We didn't know what the hell we were doing. We were
No idea. And both of us would just be like, I'll call them, you call them. I don't know. We'll figure it out. And I remember making cards. I remember like our Jay and Ash pictures, and like we everything was very, very grassroots, and like stumbling upon any of the gigs we got, we were I mean, having Ethan and Tony in the band gave us definitely some good street cred. And
Sure.
that would add to some of it. But like we were just, and it's funny because I say this a lot when telling people about just Delcoa and Jay and Ash, is like that we got like I look in looking back, like we were extremely like we're a fucking great band, man. And like
Yeah.
just even Ashley and I like had just this really great connection, and it really shined through immediately. And adding Ethan and then Tony and then Jay, we didn't know how good we had it. But people, anytime they would see us, it really shined through in the music and the connection as of us all being friends. It was like kind of the dream to be that, being the first band that I was really in here in Phoenix. Like it was a dream come true that I didn't know that had come true. Like having places like Wrigley Mansion or even Armitage, like, and the people that would come see us, it was an instant draw. And I mean, as anybody listening to this podcast knows, like Ethan was a huge charismatic draw to anybody, but the other four of us like added, like it's like a perfect circle, like it really, it made it easy to do those bookings, or to be like, to not have a manager, but people wanted to see us and wanted to have us there at their places, whether we knew what we were doing or not.
I think I would say, if I were to use one word for that band, it was effortless. It never felt like a gig, like
Right.
ever. It just
I
felt
always
like,
looked forward to the gigs.
yeah, it's like, oh, it's Wrigley Mansion or Armitage. Never felt strained or anything. They were great. I'm so happy that I had that experience.
And we also made a lot of good friends and a lot of good connections
Tons.
too.
Yep.
Tons of people that we still see today that come out to watch us.
Indeed.
Well, I remember when you guys was it 2009? Your last? No, not 2009. It was like 2018. I want to say, when your last reunion show was.
Yeah,
it
the
around that
Tempe,
time?
the Tempe Center for the Arts, Ash. Was
Right.
that 2018, I think.
18.
Yep.
Mhm.
I remember seeing it on Facebook, and I remember thinking, wow, man, a lot of people are still following these. I mean, I was looking at the comments and the likes, and I remember thinking, that's awesome. After all these years, because I mean, that had been like a good 10 years since you guys had disbanded. And a lot of people were still really interested in seeing. And how was the turnout for that reunion? I mean, from the pictures and video I saw, it looked like it was a packed house.
Pretty close.
Yeah, we were in the box theater there, not like the main house theater, but like the box theater still like has like a multiple hundred cap. I can't remember what it was, but like there were people in the balconies. It was an unbelievable experience. As any time that this quintet got together, like it was always extremely special, and
Yeah.
including the podcast right now.
Well, and that's a
Hey,
testament to how you guys felt about it, with all, it seems so far that all of you had a positive experience. You felt good about it. You were happy with the music, and it seemed like that was reciprocated with your audience, and so
Yes.
how would you describe the music that you guys created? If someone were,
Oh, this is you guys. Ash, what do you call it?
Folky funk rock, was it? No.
Yes.
Folky funk. Yeah, just folky funk, right?
folky funk?
Folky funk rock, folky like but folky funk, man. Like that was our tag.
And I don't think we really sounded like anybody. I mean, maybe people would. I never had anybody listen to the record and say, "Oh, this sounds like," or "This sounds like," which they just said, "Oh, it's a good record. It's a good band."
Mhm.
So that's kind of awesome. That was.
It goes back in that effortless, and like it was the sum of the sum of all parts is greater than
In the hole.
exactly. Like it was like all of us came from so many different backgrounds, and it just was, again, we're very organic, and still, like looking back, like I mean that one of the catalyst, the glue of the whole web was Ethan. Like Ethan was,
Oh yeah.
but I mean Ashley and I had like the impetus of it, but without Ethan, I mean, shit, without Ethan, Ashley and I probably wouldn't have met, and the whole thing wouldn't have happened. It was all very serendipitous, but Ethan's presence in all of it was always a very
Awesome.
Yeah, very, very awesome, very Ethan, very just again organic, and we all added our own sauce to it to make this really cool thing.
Well, speaking of that, I mean, I know from talking with you individually that Jay, Alan, and you, Ashley, were I'm pointing at your squares as if you guys know where I'm pointing to. But you guys were the main songwriters. You brought most of the ideas to the band. And then Jay Poole, I don't know what your influence was in that regard once you showed up. Maybe you can comment on that after my question. But how much of a role did Ethan play in influencing the sound that you guys landed on before Jay Poole came along? And then obviously, I'm sure it was reinforced when Jay came along. But how much of a role did Ethan play in that? The sound that you
Ethan
created.
And Tony just kind of like Jay and I would write. We wouldn't really often write together. We would write individually, and I mean, I'm not trying to be self-deprecating, I swear, but I wasn't really the songwriter that I like to think I am now. Back then, I think I've grown a lot, but like I would kind of come in with like stuff that wasn't quite there, and then I would bring it to the band and we'd arrange it. And then all of a sudden it was like to me, the Delcoa sound was very energetic, but you strip away that rhythm in particular. And we're talking pre Jay Poole right now, right? So I'll have amazing things to say about Jay Poole after this fact. It would take these like bare bones songs and like elevate, and then all of a sudden, like, because I think we would, especially me, would kind of write like more like mellow, like down here. And then all of a sudden you add the rhythm backbone, and all of a sudden it was like, whoop, that Delcoa sound that we're talking about. And then you add Jay Poole, and it was just like, holy shit. It's just the whole journey at that point. So that was my take. That's my take on things. That answers that.
Well, you bring up a good point, because Tony, like, again, like it's been mentioned in the podcast a few times, you and Ethan were just, what was the term? Like package deal, right, has come up a few times, and you guys were just locked in with each other. So I guess when I say how much did Ethan influence the sound, I mean, obviously you guys were so locked in that together you probably had a huge influence on where you guys land. Can you remember anything specifically, Tony, about um, influencing the sound of Delcoa compared to, because were you mostly in cover bands? I mean, were there any other original bands besides, I know you, like, we were doing the Christofoya thing, but
Right.
from that, and maybe a little Murgatron or something like that, but was it mostly covers, and then Delcoa was where you were able to, like?
I think I was mostly in cover bands when I started and everything, but I think when I joined Delcoa, like joining Jay and Ash and, Ethan bringing, like, hey, let's go. These guys are really talented. They're writing some really good songs. I think you and I could be a good fit with them. So when we did that, I was excited to play original music because I hadn't done that in maybe since I was in high school, playing in my little high school garage bands, things like that. So me being able to, or always having to copy a cover song and able to put my own twist on an original project was very gratifying to me, and to hear the what became of it afterwards. And I think with the whole package deal with Ethan and I, we almost like read each other's brain. Like we just kind of knew where everything was going. So when Jay or Ash brought us a song, it, like Ashley was saying, it's bare bones when it's just an acoustic guitar. But then you add drums or you add bass to it, and then we were able to kind of give it the signature, like the feel for the song, like what the beat was going to be, what the bass line was going to be, because the bass line can add a totally different dimension to what an acoustic guitar is playing, and Ethan did that. Right. Ethan brought his own twist to it, right. And I think him and I fed off that, and then I think it was, intertwined between all of us.
Was it a fun process for you, Tony?
Oh yeah, it was great. It was great. I feel like there were, a lot of times where Ethan and I were able to interject our what we wanted, or like where we think it should go. How about we try this here, or like why don't we double up this chorus, or tag this out, or Ethan like, how do we change this chord to this or something? And so I think there was a lot of
abilities of like I remember specifically Fishing for the early version of it. It was just verse chorus. I remember being like, I don't know how to do a bridge or what to do right here. And Ethan had this it was like, well, the Beatles would do it this way, like where it went to that A minor, and you're dropping the root down to the 7, down to the major 7, and then at the time I was just like, what do those numbers mean? I don't know.
Are you talking Japanese to me right now?
Something like that. That sounds cool. I don't know. And but both of you guys with your musical sensibilities brought so much to these. I mean, these very stripped down ideas that Ashley and I came to you guys with like, and we had ideas about them. Like I remember like Fishing for, or Little Earthquakes, or Roots, Bridges, and Branches in particular. Like I had these parts or whatever, or Ashley had and that was kind of the beauty of it too. Like having not really having and I think Ethan told me this often, was just like, man, you do things very unconventionally. And he loved that about like just being like, I was just like, I just think it sounds cool. And that's how I wrote it. And like, if it worked, like he'd be like, that's in 7. And I'd be like, what does that mean? That's cool. And like him being like, oh, that's cool because it's like this, and not many songs do this.
I only know where Circle K is. What is 7?
Yeah, I did it in 7-Eleven. This is awesome. But yeah, like us being, I think that's what really made it work really well too, was being coming from a place. It's funny. Like when I try to write songs now, there are times that I'll be like, dude, try to forget everything you know about music and just do what feels good and do what feels spontaneous and don't put any rules to it, because it's hard once you know those things. And Ethan used to praise me upon that, of like, he's like, dude, how did you come up with this, and why would you go to that chord? Like, why would you play this? Whatever he would say, like, you're playing a 13 over this thing, that doesn't make any sense. But it was like, it sounds cool, it feels cool. And I think he liked that about us. And Tony, you did too. And when Jay came in, like, he would make sense of it even more for us. But and I think that's like Delcoa really cool too, is like, there was nothing conventional about us except for the fact that we all were very cohesive.
We got to play what we wanted. Jeez,
exactly.
That's crazy. And I'll say this, that you guys were kind of already pretty much fully formed as a rhythm section by the time I got there. So honest to God, it was like, sitting in a Barca lounger and clicking the handle back and like, this is great. Just relaxed and fun. And with Ethan, he just made everybody, well, I'll speak for myself, just gave me like an extra 15 or 20% of confidence. So I knew if I had a gig, especially a Delcoa gig, and Ethan's there, it's like, oh man, I'm 20% better than I think I am, just because Ethan's on the gig. And I think it sounded like he did the same thing for you, Jay. And I'm sure that I'm not the only one who thinks like that.
Well, you could have a terrible gig, and after the gig, he would say, "Oh man, you were great tonight." And I'm like, who did you play with? But that was who he was. He was always a positive reinforcement to anybody that was having a terrible night. And he was always everybody's bright light, like someone that
I'm going to play Christopher for a second.
We were like brothers and sisters. Pump up the volume.
And I'm going to ask you guys, what do you have either your most memorable or your favorite Delcoa gig? Sorry if that's one of your questions, Chris.
Jay, what are you trying to do to me, man?
It's my podcast, bro.
I've got a flow. I'm trying to make a rhythm here.
With your new host, Jay Poole.
Yeah, well, what you guys were just talking about, that was a point that I definitely was going to bring up. Ethan was known for making the best out of a horrible gig. So one of the things I was curious about, and it's kind of jumping ahead of where I was going. Thanks, Jay Poole. No, I'm just kidding, man. But
it's kind of like when they let me produce the Delcoa record, Chris. Sort of the same thing happened.
You can't help but kind of give me some of that.
But I'll do it real politely.
Oh man, you guys, it's fine, Jay. That's all right, man. But so, Ethan making the best out of a horrible gig. Can you guys recall any horrible gigs where you really had to lean on Ethan in that regard? Tony?
Okay, it's not gonna be like it's not a bad gig, but obviously the gig where Steve Gadd came to play with us at Armitage.
Talk about this.
Yes.
Okay. So obviously, if anybody doesn't know who Steve Gadd is, he's Steve God. And he's like the best drummer on the face of the planet. He's Mr. Groove. Well, he was Jay Poole's neighbor, and he came out to one of our gigs after he'd already been to Jay's house for it. It was like Christmas Eve or something like that.
Yeah.
Around Christmas time. Anyway, Steve Gadd's wife comes up and says, "Hey, Steve's really enjoying you guys' set and loves your music. Would you mind if he got up and played the drums?" I was like, "No, are you kidding me? Please." Well, anyway, so at the time, Noel Segura was the manager at Armitage, and Steve Gadd's playing. Well, I mean, obviously the volume got a little louder because it was so exciting.
Yeah.
And he comes over to Ethan. He's like, "Hey, can you guys turn it down?" And Ethan just goes, "No, we can't. It's Steve Gadd on drums." I just remember Ethan saying, "Is like, no. Do you know who's playing drums? Steve Gadd on drums.
Do you know what's happening right now?"
Yeah. Do you know what's happening right now? Exactly.
That's exactly what he said. You know what's
Yeah.
happening
I
right
think
now?
we got fired after that too, but then we got the Wrigley Mansion gig, so it was all
Yep.
good.
Oh,
right.
and
Right.
the Armitage that night, I mean, we kind of, Steve had mentioned that he might be coming by, and so he's like, yeah, but don't say anything to anybody. So yeah, like sure, we're not going to say anything. So and the place was packed. It was two wall people, and so they're selling drinks like crazy. Steve Gadd's playing drums, and then the manager asks us to turn it down.
Sorry, Noel.
No,
Love you, Noel, but
We're gonna turn it up.
That's one of the things I remember about performing. Like you had some venue or bar manager, usually it was bar managers, right? Because music venue directors or whatnot had a better sense of those kind of situations. But I do remember Ethan telling me stories about bar managers that just, I mean, because that sounds like a really dumb move. They're selling liquor, the place is packed, everyone's having a good time. He's like, can you turn it down?
best
I
drummer in
can
the
see,
world.
and I can totally see Ethan saying no.
No.
Yeah, and it's not that Noel was being like a bad guy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
He was just kind of just doing his job. But at that time, we're like, no, we got Steve Gadd on drums.
Oh, okay, gotcha. So that wasn't typical
Yeah.
for Noel. Okay,
No,
gotcha.
And if I think about it, didn't we kind of shoehorn ourselves into that Armitage gig to begin with? Because Jay, you and
Yeah.
Ash were doing that,
That was the
and
first.
then it kind of became Jay and Ash and Tony, and then Jay and Ash and Tony and Ethan, and then it's like Jay, Ash, Tony, Ethan, and Jay in that like little corner.
100%.
Yeah.
Like we grew that from that was Jay and Ash's first like real gig. Like we had Pasta Pomodoro, which was just like I was a server there, so it was kind of like we'll play over there on the side, and that actually grew into something cool as well. But I remember a friend of mine was a server there at Armitage, which is now the living room, where Todd and our good friend Matt play every Sunday now. But
That's funny.
no, we definitely shoehorned our way into kind of whatever we wanted at that place, and
Yep.
after a while,
And they were like, "You got too big for this." Yeah, that's all it was.
Hey,
got
And
to,
they
it
were
was like
right.
5 people now, and we're like, well, no, we need more money. Give it to us.
Well, let's
right.
continue with
Pay
the memorable.
might not have gone up either. I think you guys had just kind of like kept getting divided by 2, by 3, by 4, by 5.
And we were like, and we probably still weren't making that $300 mark. It was probably just like, hey, Jay Poole and Tony and Ethan, will you guys take $40, please?
I'm like, score, of course I will. This was awesome.
Well, let's
Oh,
continue
man.
with the memorable gigs. What were some others?
Oh, I got one for you too, Chris, that I was thinking about. And again, it's not like I can't think of any bad gigs I've had with Delcoa. Like I just don't think there was one. If there was one, I can't think of it. But there was a really funny one. We very, very rarely got asked to do weddings because we are not a wedding band. But every once in a while, we get like a couple that just thought we were really cool and wanted some cool music at their wedding. And our friends Jeremy and Barbara asked us to play for their wedding up in Cave Creek, and we agreed to it. And we were on our way there, and Ethan was like, "Why do I get the feeling I'm gonna end up as the master of ceremonies?" Right?
Always did.
Turn up, Ethan's up there like, now it's time for the mother-daughter dad, their fathers or whatever. It's like, now it's time to cut the cake. It's like just running.
He was the MC.
Yep.
And he was like, what the hell?
That happens so many times, dude.
It's such a natural role for him, It's almost like people expect him to, he kind of walks in like, that's the guy.
Yeah. He was like, why am I doing this?
And how did the gig go? I mean, did it go well through the evening? Did Ethan pull it off?
Of course he did. Yeah. I mean, he wasn't happy about it. He didn't want to do it, but he was like, who else is though? Nobody else is going to do it. So I'm going to do it. And I was like, I don't want to fucking do it.
He was a people person anyway.
Yeah, if somebody else took it on, he would probably be like, oh, you suck at this. Get out of my way. Give me the fucking microphone.
Yeah, maybe he secretly loved it. We'll never
Move.
And all the moms would all be like, "Oh, Ethan, I love that guy. He's so sweet."
So
And then
there's
there's the time.
a particular gig that I was wanting to ask about that Ashley gave a little bit of a background to, but during our interview, we kind of like stopped talking about the Delcoa stuff to save it for this moment. But I want to hear all of your take, all of you, your take on the bluegrass festival you played when Ethan kept saying, "We're not a bluegrass band."
Can I start?
Yeah, of course.
You need to start.
So I had a buddy of mine that knew the booking folks up at the Telluride Bluegrass Festival, and I just decided we could be a bluegrass band without knowing shit about bluegrass. So we took a couple of Delcoa songs. I think maybe one of my songs, and Tony played like a banjo with
My
drumsticks.
dad,
And
it's still in the same way. It's all the strings are off, and it's still ready to play brushes and do like.
and we went up to Telluride and we participated in the bluegrass competition. And we did.
Well, we had a
win.
gig the night before.
Yeah, that's right. We did. Yep.
Tommy's.
Fly to Moon Saloon and one of the other.
Tommy's, that's right.
Tommy's, yeah.
Yeah.
And Ethan was so steadfastly like, we shouldn't do this gig. We're not bluegrass. We shouldn't do this gig. We're not bluegrass. And I was like, we got to go do this gig. We can be bluegrass. Come on, we can be bluegrass. I'll just play this fake banjo, and yeah, Tony will play a banjo. Yeah, we can be bluegrass.
Jay's
So-
like, I'll learn
You
the
bought a mandolin for it. You bought a mandolin. and
Oh yeah,
learned-
that's right. I did. I forgot. I
He
bought a
learned
mandolin.
the mandolin for this gig.
Where is
That's-
that mandolin, Nicholas?
I learned how to hold the mandolin. But and
What's
we did.
funny about that is Ethan and I drove up to that gig together. We drove up on that Friday to do that gig at Tommy's. And we woke up the next morning to do the Bluegrass Festival, and him and I drove back right afterward to get to a gig the
That's
very
right.
next night.
That's right.
And
I
what
think we
was
stayed-
Ethan
we
telling
did
you in
another
that
gig.
car ride, Tony?
We're not a bluegrass band.
He kept saying it over and over.
Over
We're
and
not
over
a
again.
bluegrass band. Like he would. That was all he would. That was like the only words that came out of his mouth that whole weekend. We're
That
not a
may be the
bluegrass
most
band.
negative I've ever seen Ethan. That was about it.
Yeah.
But you know,
Right.
he was a
What was
trooper,
his
man.
expression? Like, what was the look on his face and stuff? Like, would he have his
Head
head
down.
down? Or?
We're not a bluegrass band. Just like
Not a
that.
bluegrass band. But you know, when we set up and played, he put on his gay face, and you know, we did our thing.
Like he always does.
Not come in last place. We didn't come in last place.
Okay.
We didn't
The
come in
best,
last
though-
place. Go
The
ahead.
best though
Yeah.
was the judge came up to us and she goes, one of the judges, I don't know who else was with me. It might have just been me, but she goes, I just want to let you know, I really love your band. I mean, you're not a bluegrass band.
We
But I
know.
loved
That's right.
So now we can
That's
say
why
we
we-
played the Telluride Bluegrass Festival.
Yeah.
It was such a fun experience, though, man.
Oh
It
yeah,
was-
man.
It was.
I'm so glad we did it. And again, it's a great story because it is the only time Ethan was like, I really don't want to do this.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
What's that photo, Jay?
Lift it higher.
What is that? Is that
Oh my
was that
god.
during that weekend?
No,
No.
Oh,
I think these are still sitting in here from when you and I, like Kathleen gave me a bunch of pictures.
cool.
But it's without his shirt on with the modulist, but it looks like Telluride, doesn't it?
Yeah,
You
it does.
do.
Yeah. Look at that
Okay,
guy.
so the number one top gig that you guys will never forget. Do you collectively have one, or do you individually each, or can you remember something that where you guys all said that was it, that was the best gig ever?
Ooh, I don't know.
Come
Who's
on, Jay
first?
Allen.
Like Dow
There's
Mountain Music
two.
Fest is
And-
one.
Oh yeah.
And
Um,
Delcoa City release party.
Yeah.
I was going to say that Delcoa City,
Wrigley.
from an
Wrigley.
audience point of view, that was an amazing show, and it was packed. It was fun. You guys were having fun up there.
I remember, like, I still remember vividly, like, us coming up with our the intro where it was like, it was dreaming and going into, like, it was like, oh, so cool. We did such weird shit that, like, I know that Tony and Ethan and Jay were just kind of like, oh, we'll humor them again.
It was not humor. It was I was all on board.
Dude, it was so fucking cool. And like dude, anything that happened at Wrigley, I still look back on those Sundays.
Awesome sauce.
That night in particular was fucking incredible. And
It was a blur to me. We even hired security for that show.
wow.
Really?
Tyrone had a bunch of
Yeah,
friends out
yep.
there.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and all of our cute little girlfriends were running our merch table, and
It
just-
was
Right.
Have the blue tickets that we printed out. I found some of them.
wow. That's
Jay, is that
awesome.
where you
we
Jay
send them
Jay
out
Poole,
to
you
all the
brought
radio
your
stations.
that's right.
The double
Jay
neck.
Poole, you brought the double neck that
I
gig?
did. That comes out for the special occasions.
All right.
And I think what was cool about that was like seeing how many people were there to support, because that was when you released a CD, it was kind of a big deal and you get just some support anyway. But we had so many folks that showed up, and it was packed, and it was kind of rewarding because we put a lot of work into that record. I mean, I know I did. I poured my heart into the record, and I think everybody did, and it really was a community effort. I know everyone jokes around about me being the producer, but nothing went on that record without everybody saying, yeah, this is what's going to go on the record. So, we financed it ourselves, paid for everything ourselves, recorded it, everything as inexpensively as we could. And we came up with I thought, a good sounding record. And then having all those people show up for it was like, this is cool. So
Yeah.
that was definitely one of my top. Yeah, they were the top 2 gigs. McDowell Mountain was also pretty awesome.
Down Mountain was one of those, like, I remember, we can still watch, like, I found the DVDs of like that whole day, or our set there, and like Ted Greenbaum hopping up with us, but it was so, like, I remember like that. Yeah, those 2 gigs by far. Ashley, you are 100% correct. Those are
Well, what was it about the McDowell Music Festival that stood out to you guys that made it such a special night? Was it just the amount of people that were there, or
No,
any other
There were
that
not that
particular-
many people
we
there.
arrived.
Yeah, we had an
No,
early
it's
slot,
that we
man.
got to do it. We got asked, like, we were like, we had become like the McDowell Mountain Music Festival was at that time a 2-day festival,
Right.
or possibly 3. And they asked, I believe 2, memory's hard. Maybe it was just one band, a local band each day to open up the festival. And the fact that we got to do it was like, oh shit, like we've arrived, like in this town, like we've done stuff here to make
Just
us
to get some recognition.
to get us noticed. Like we get to
We
open
did-
this
we had-
festival.
Yeah, I
It's
don't think
so
we
cool.
started out, like, we were asked, and which
We were
was
asked,
huge.
and it was like they rolled out the red carpet. There's a backstage, and you get an artist pass, and you get the sound check, and then you get to hang out backstage with all the crew. And the year before, that was Grace Potter was playing, and the crew kept calling me that year's Grace Potter, which was just like,
Yeah.
"Ugh." It was
Thank
like,
you.
so cool.
That's
It
when
was like it was.
me and
They
Jay
treated
were
you like
did
a real
the
person,
Fender-
like a real band.
Yep.
What?
That's when
What'd you say,
they
Jay?
did
Al?
the Fender tent, right?
What was that, Jay?
Played that Fender tent the year before that we played the main stage.
Yes, that's right. We did. Yeah, the 3 of us.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we were like, oh, and that was we were like, oh, cool. We get to play McDowell Mountain Music Festival. We were just like in the little Fender tent. And then that year, and yeah, all the local bands that get to play. I mean, I know Jay Allen's done it a few times since, and it's like, I don't know how it was then, but like, yeah, they treat you just like any other band on that bill. They treated us like Robert Randolph. Like it was the first time that I think I'd ever felt like a real rock star, with people rolling in. I mean, I didn't have any gear except for at the time I was just singing in Delcoa, so I didn't have any
Well,
gear.
I think that was also us, maybe all of us, playing a stage that big for the first time.
Together, for sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Jay Poole, you've done it. Yeah.
One other time.
Yeah. Not me. I'm just speaking for myself, guys.
Okay.
Where'd you play before, Jay Poole? What big stage?
I played 2004 at the Indian School Park for the Phoenix 4th of July
Oh yeah.
gig.
Did you do
you
that
know,
with who?
I did that with Ryan Sims, but I think that might have been after. I don't know. I did it with Ryan Sims, and I did it with another band, Cruising the Boomers.
Oh right.
Yeah, and the Cruising the Boomers one, we did it like 4, and we were facing the sun. So I have a couple of pictures, and it looks like one of those sci-fi, nuclear wastelands where like the ozone's all gone and everything's like super bright.
Right.
I have dad
I
views.
think I played that same one. I think it was with Tate though.
Okay. So maybe you guys played after.
We had
us.
three gigs that day.
See, so you did play on the big stage, Tony. Don't lie to me.
Well, you're probably right, but I think that was the first time where I didn't have to bring my own drum set.
Yeah, that's kind of a big deal.
Yeah. So that was pretty awesome.
Hey, and look at this. We're still all doing original music.
I know.
What?
That's
Yeah.
beautiful.
That's
That's
pretty
awesome.
cool, huh?
Dude, what's up with that? You guys are playing at the Humphreys spot a lot, Ash. That looks fucking amazing.
Yeah, Humphreys is great. Yeah. We've been doing pretty well around San Diego. I got really lucky. I met like the right people who plugged me into the right places. I got to do like the San Diego Music Awards are actually a big deal here.
Not like the Phoenix Music Award.
Fuck no. Like they're a really big deal here. Like it's like
Ethan's favorite fucking thing.
oh my god. I've been loving that story. Oh my god. We could probably edit this part out, but like I'll never forget when that guy called me and he's like, "Yeah, I'm putting you in a category with Sage Gentlewing."
Oh my god.
Oh wow.
What?
Both of those names still like, oh my god, that's hilarious.
Yeah, he's still
Phoenix
but yeah.
Musicals.
But anyway, I got like it was kind of cool. I've been playing at Humphreys for the last couple years, and the booker there just really likes me, likes our band. And then, people are recognizing the work that I'm doing with for women in music. I don't know if you guys have been privy to that, but like yeah. So anyway, after the music awards, I got asked to organize the after party at Humphreys Backstage Live, full of and I put together a book of a show of 7 all-female fronted SDMA nominated bands, including my own, and it was really fucking cool. Like it's like a really big honor to do that. So that was really cool. But yeah, Humphreys is a great stage. It's just a tough draw. Like it's beautiful, the venue, and I love being there, but like I have a bigger following up in Ramona, so it's kind of hard sometimes to play there, and then sometimes you're like, sorry, there's not a lot of people here. I live an hour away.
Where are you living right now? Whereabouts?
It's called Ramona. It's a little country town. It's about an hour from San Diego. So Brad commutes an hour every day, but he doesn't seem to mind it too much. And there's really good gigging around here. There's like 40 wineries, and
nice.
Yeah, I've taken, man, like I can't even tell you guys what Ethan's done. I mean, for my career, I know you probably feel the same. Like I model like literally everything I do after what he was doing. And now I get it. Like I'm like a self-sustaining musician, and I'm like not a struggling musician. Like I'm actually making really good money, and like all because of him. And he always told me, he would be like, you have not even begun to hit your stride. You're going to hit your stride. And it really, like, I feel like I've hit it, and it's really, really sucks that he's not here to see it, because I owe everything to him showing.
All right.
Yeah.
Well,
And
Ash,
if you guys want to come to Ramona, I'd love to have you here. I'll book Jay out. I'll book you
always
gigs.
hustled. Always, man. You always hustled.
I learned it from
I'm
Ethan.
not surprised.
I learned it from Ethan. It's funny to like sit in his seat where people go, what do you mean? But like, what do you do for a living? Or
I'm
like
a musician. What?
that's
No,
not
no, really.
or that's not sustainable, or like, this or that. And he's just like, he would always be like, yes, it is.
Yeah.
What are you
no,
talking
actually,
about?
I will really be impressed the day that you can string 8 tunes together and lay down Sally. That's what I know you have followed in Ethan's.
Oh
Singing
man,
footsteps.
God, Jay Poole bringing on the challenge. Oh, I don't want to do that, but I will.
Record it too and put it on Facebook.
The
Or it's-
gauntlet has been
Yeah, why don't you do that, Jay Poole? I'll throw it right back at you.
done deal.
Standing
I knew
challenge
it.
for everyone in the group, or in all your
Everyone do it.
individual projects.
Everyone do a quick lay down Sally
Yeah.
version of some other song.
Speaking of songs,
There may be something there actually.
what was did you guys have a favorite, song or two or three that you like to play over the years? And on the flip side of that, were there songs where you were like, let's just do it because we got to kill some time?
As far as original songs,
Fishing for is my favorite off the first one.
yeah, there,
And Dreaming.
yeah. Let Me In is one of my favorites as far as like just how it came together and what we would do with it, and just what we all added to something. That was always the coolest thing about bringing a song to this project, was like the Legos that everybody kind of made to like that Voltron of a song that everybody, like, I would like Ashley and I would bring something, but by the time it was done and we were playing it live or recording it, it was the sum of all of our parts, like, made it so special. That was like one of the cool things about Delcoa. It wasn't just like, here's my song, you do this, you do this, you do this, which was probably also a testament to the fact of like, I mean, Ashley and I were, it's like very, very not, well, yeah, we were new to this whole thing. So we really looked up to Ethan and Tony and Jay and really valued that. Like, we didn't tell anybody what to do on any of the songs. It was like, everybody please just add whatever. And like, it was all very democratic, and there was not a lot of ego, and every song formed into itself. So like songs like Let Me In, Fishing For, and we did 2 versions of it, Fishing 4 and then Fishing 5, as we called it.
Yeah. That's right, Fishing 5.
I think everything came across, everything was very organic. They just kind of just made themselves.
Sense of like, just because I got to like Tony and I remember the day very specifically of Tony and I writing the whole middle section of Watchpot.
The basement.
The early stuff like Roots, Bridges, and Branches, Fishing For. Little Earthquakes is still one of those songs I'm like, it's just like, it makes me feel good.
Yeah, except for Tony King's ruined Little Earthquakes for me forever, because every single time I sing, he's like, "Why are your hands so sticky, Ashley? Why are your hands so
What was that about?
Nothing.
Little Earthquakes?" There's just a line in there, and to be quite honest, I have no clue what it means. With sticky, I think I was like going through like I was like trying to get like a cobweb imagery. So like, with sticky hands, I'm breaking loose. Like, my hands are in the cobwebs, but I'm gonna break free anyway. And that's not how Tony King heard it.
Well, diplomatically
Never lived it down.
Okay. Well, speaking of humor,
man.
I've probably spoken so far to about 32 people. And in every single conversation, and for any of the podcasts you guys have heard, I like to ask about Ethan's humor, because it was so individualized with each project and each person that he interacted with. He was almost like a humoristic chameleon in the way that he could adapt to anyone if they had a dry sense of humor or if they were witty or. So what were some of the in-house jokes, or what was some of the humor that would go on during your on and off the stage in Delcoa? And was Ethan one of the main? Well, Tony, you can cut up pretty well too. And then Jay, you've got I mean, all of you have awesome personalities, that kind of thing. But can you guys remember any specifics about what kind of jokes you would share with each other, or any?
I think a lot of it comes from whatever the gig was,
Yeah.
like what was going on at the gig at that time. I think that's every gig was so different, and any kind of joke was just whatever was going on. We could all make fun of something that was going on at any, and starting with Ethan, and I think it to trickle through Ethan and I, because we were in a lot of communication with each other, looking at each other. And then it would kind of like trickle into, Ashley would catch on too, because she'd see this, Ethan and I cracking up. I don't know there isn't something I can't name specifically, but then it would just kind of trickle through Jay Poole, because Jay Poole's like, what are they laughing about? What, Ashley, what are they? And then Jay's like, what's going on behind me? Staring at my ass, what's going on?
Do any of you remember any specifics of like?
I have 2 words. I have 2 words. Chucky Todd.
Oh my God.
Todd.
Yes.
I will say this, that, again, because the Delcoa gigs were usually, almost great and super fun, and we were into the music, he wasn't, joking around they were joking around as much. But, when we're doing stupid cover gigs elsewhere, that's when, it would be kind of crazy. And he'd be cracking jokes to keep us entertained, during the set. I can't remember anything specifically for the Delcoa stuff. That's odd.
That seems to be a theme. A lot of people have a hard, when I try to zero in on a specific joke or something exactly that he said, a lot of people are like, oh man, it's hard to do because he was always so funny that it all kind of blurs together. Like I know he was funny, but I can't tell you exactly.
I remember oftentimes just trying to make him laugh back, like because he was just a master of changing the lyrics or
Yeah.
throwing in a riff to be like, ooh, here's like something pertaining to like just like
There's Star Wars.
Yeah.
So, like where like I would always try to like nudge him back, like poke him back. And that was always so much fun to try to do, because I don't remember specific ones. I do remember a lot of Wrigley Mansion gigs that we played on Sundays that we would have a running joke for the night that end up just being something that would go back and forth, and everybody would kind of throw in their little sauce and little part each time throughout the whole night. But yeah, like Jay said, like we didn't have like a lot of like, oh, this gig sucks. Like we were very lucky that we didn't have.
They were all great.
Do a shitty gig.
We took
Even the
good
one that
gigs.
was at Gordon Biersch gig on Mill Avenue, even that one we had like a couple.
Yeah.
Bash
Was it
on
Gordon
Ash.
Biersch?
Bash on
How
Ash.
about the one where we camped out up in Sedona?
Oh, those were
dude,
great.
Those were great. Those were fucking
Yeah.
amazing.
Those were
We were just talking
magic. And
about
all
that
of
the
our
other
people
day.
would come
Yeah.
up and rent out the rooms in Sedona, and we would just.
The best was one of my favorites is when Tony jumped out of that armoire in.
What was
Dude,
that? What happened
that
there?
still pisses me off. That still pisses me off because he did not surprise. They like did this whole like thing where they were trying to like, I don't know. They were trying to do something, a little prank. That's the word. Why can't I think? They were trying to pull a prank on me.
On you specifically?
On you?
Yes, it was me. You guys
The prank-
came. You guys
What
came.
happened?
So there was this empty armoire, or maybe you did it to someone else first, and then you were like, we gotta do it to Ashley. But it was, but I was just like, what the hell?
We were in this hotel room, and it's probably about like 15 people in this room, and they were all talking. Well, there was a moment there where I found myself not talking to anybody.
Uh-huh.
So I just got up to go use the restroom, and I left and I used the restroom, washed my hands, and I like looked over and like everybody was talking. Nobody's looking at me. So I'm just like, I looked, there's this armoire that's sitting right there by the sink. It's huge. I'm like, I opened it up and I'm like, I could fit in there. So I climbed inside it and I could still see barely see, and everybody's just talking. And I'm just gonna wait for
Like,
someone to come use this restroom. And so finally, some girl that was there, one of the friends, maybe one of your friends actually, Jay and I were trying to remember this the other day.
Oh, this
But
makes a lot of sense.
so she comes walking up, and she's the first person because I had been there for like at least 10 minutes sitting in there, just being very patient. And she comes walking up, and I just, "Ah!" and just, not only did I scare the crap out of this girl, but everybody else that was sitting in the room, everybody jumped.
Oh
And
my
I scared
God,
everybody.
this whole time I thought you guys were just trying to pull a prank on me. I didn't
Oh.
realize that because you can't. Okay, this makes a lot of sense. So after this happened, you guys all must have been collectively like, you know, who's taking a nap in the
I
next
think that's what it
room
was,
is Ashley. So everyone's like, Ashley. And I was just like, what? I think I was like talking to Blue or something. They're like, come here. I'm like, why? Just come in here. And I was like, okay. They're like, go to the bathroom. Like, why? Just
Don't you have to
do
pee
it.
yet?
I go.
Oh man.
Tony jumps out of the armor, and I'm just standing there, and everyone looks at me and pointing and laughing, but I wasn't like startled at all. I was like, Tony's jumping out of the armor. I don't understand.
What's that all about?
I remember,
Uh,
those trips, and there was those were even when we went to like LA, and Telluride, going up to the Bluegrass Fest. Gosh, man, so much fun
well,
going to,
Jay, you and I would tour all over the country too.
yeah.
Yeah, we did some Jay and Ash
did.
tours. Yeah, they were
Very
fun.
cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so you spoke about your favorite original music to play. How about because you guys did some, I love the Beatles covers that you guys would do. What were your favorite, and was it like a collective thing to choose the covers that you played, or was Ethan like a huge influence in that, or did you guys all talk about it, or well, how did you choose the covers, and what were your favorite covers to play?
I think one of my favorite covers that we did was when we did like the mashup. We started off with the U2 song,
Oh yeah.
and
Yeah.
but then
and
it
then
went
we
into
would,
our parts.
yeah, I would sing "She Will Be Loved" by Maroon 5, and then Ethan would sing "The Journey,"
Yep.
and then we just kept adding. And then there's a point where we all were singing our individual song while we're still playing the same song.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that was really cool.
There's a few songs that like just stuck from the beginning, like Dear Prudence, that always grew into like Romeo and Juliet was always just amazing things.
Because it was you guys gave me an excuse for a long ass guitar solo, so I always like those.
Well, and just it was all
You did.
vibe, man. Like all the coolest songs that like, and as somebody stated before, like we made everything kind of into our own.
Yeah. Yep. Like our version of Dear
The
Prudence didn't sound
dynamics.
like anything. And honestly,
The
I
dynamic.
didn't
Yeah,
even know
dynamics.
Romeo and Juliet was a Dire Straits song until like 2 years ago.
Oh, because you had only heard the Indigo Girls
Yeah.
version, because that's
Yeah.
probably what I played you. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I only heard the Delcoa version. I mean, that was all I knew.
Oh wow.
And I do remember that sometimes, especially during a couple of those songs, I would feel just these crazy emotions coming from the band and everybody. It was
Well, that's
some
funny
of
you
that
say
shit was
that, J.
powerful.
Poole. When you say that, because I still have a recording of us doing, well, one of my favorite gigs was the Rhythm Room gig that we did. It was our
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
our first
First
kind of our
reunion.
first reunion gig that we did.
Yeah.
And the live recording that I have of Romeo and Juliet, like I just love, and it just sends chills down my spine because all of us were just locked
in the moment, man.
in the
In the moment.
moment, and you could hear a pin drop in that place.
Yep.
With everybody by the jugular, just like, I got you now. I'll take the rapist for 3. No, I'm just kidding. As a therapist.
I've got a couple of photos of Jay Allen and I just like sitting down on the stage together, just
Yeah.
like,
Watching
Oh,
J.
yeah.
Poole.
yeah, just watching Jay Poole leaning up against each other, like, oh, he's gonna he's gonna take us there.
It was powerful, guys. It was
But I always
and-
felt left out too, because like the three of you guys would go off to the side.
You can't move.
And Jay and Ethan, and I'm back there like I can't go over there.
I can't go
But-
anywhere. I gotta stay here and play.
And we're
damn it.
just watching Jay Poole just, as Jay would say, Jay Allen would say, just melt anything, melt people's faces.
And guys, I never played as well as I have with that band. And it was just the energy that was coming from everybody. It was fucking frightening and scary and beautiful. And I can feel those moments like they were yesterday.
Right.
So thank you.
Before taking the stage, did you guys ever have any kind of rituals or anything you would do? You know, like
Jägermeister.
Yeah, Jaeger. Take a shot of Jaeger.
Yep.
Make it
so
that
nothing
Ethan-
specific,
Ethan
like
would
everyone
put
put their hands
some
and say,
funny, like,
Delcoa, or,
no. Actually, Ethan would do that thing like where everybody
Oh,
would
yeah.
put their in, and like you make the thing.
Yeah.
I
We'd
don't
put
remember
hand
that.
in, hand in. Then we
Yep.
go.
Yeah.
I do remember that.
Oh.
We did
But
that before
that
the
wasn't like
Tempe.
that wasn't like a ritual in any way, shape, or form. He would just throw that in every now and then.
what were you
But
gonna say, Tony?
Like Jägermeister was probably the most prevalent. The
Yeah,
pre-stage.
Ethan got me to do Jaeger for the first time in Anchorage, Alaska.
Oh,
How
Yeah,
did that
he,
turn
he,
out?
well, he begged me. First of all, I wasn't a shot person ever.
Uh-huh.
And then when we went to Anchorage, Alaska with Capital Down, and Ashley, you came up for that for about a week.
Yeah.
And that was like the you and Mike Mercier slapping each other, and Ethan's like, I don't think you should play this game, Mike.
Yeah, it still stings a little bit, but it was I
What was that about? Why were you slapping each other?
there was consent? Oh, I don't know. Mike Mercier.
Right. That's all you got to
Just
say.
Mike
Yeah,
Yeah.
She'll
It
cut
wasn't. It was.
Charlie's
It
or-
was in fun. This was a fun thing we were doing. It was ridiculous.
The sun
It
never
hurt.
goes down and the shots never stop. I'm glad I never made that trip. What was the name of the bar in Alaska, Tony?
Chilkoot
Chilkoot
Charlie's.
Charlie's.
Grab a
Chilkoot
beverage.
Charlie's.
I can't remember what I had for breakfast this morning, but some of these
I can remember the name of
memories are
that bar.
crazy vivid. Yeah.
Yeah,
Although we
Chilkoot
didn't,
Charlie's.
we didn't talk about Simply Listen as a song. That one was so cool because that was like,
That one's one of my favorite songs on that record.
well,
That's
yeah, and that's
probably
really
my favorite song on there.
I don't know why Jay Allen and I never really wrote a lot together,
But you guys wrote that. Yeah, you guys. That was a.
but that one we did.
Oh,
And then we brought it to you guys, and then that was like one of the only, I think that was the only song that we really kind of like wrote
so
like from scratch together.
I remember we had a rehearsal, did that song, and we did Watch Pot, and the arrangements just came together like that. I mean, it was just like boom, 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 boom. And I remember the intro to Watch Pot I did, and Tony somehow ended up recording it and never let me play anything different after that. I tried some other stuff, kind of like, Jay, no, that's not the right
No,
part. Play
no.
what you did the first time, and that's what we're gonna do.
Well, that's the funny because I was recording all of our rehearsals. God, I don't even know where those things are. They're probably still on my iPod. But I remember recording it, and then we would have another rehearsal, and you do the intro, and I was just like, because I had been listening to it over and over again, and that's what just stuck.
Yeah,
that was in my brain.
And you were right, Tony, because I went back and was like, oh, that all right, yeah, that is better than this nonsense I'm playing now. So okay,
You're like, yeah, I am pretty badass. Yeah, that's pretty cool. And so yeah, I remember going to you and like, you have to play it like
this.
You have to play it like this. And you went back and you took it and you went home and you relearned what you just did on the fly. And it was great.
Harder to learn it than play it on the fly. I'm not sure why that is, but
right.
But yeah,
but I felt like with that record, I think with that song, I think we all had a lot of input, you
Yeah.
know, with what direction the song would go. And then like that whole middle section with, you know, we break
Yeah, man.
everything down and it picks back
Yep.
up in like a Latin kind of feel thing. That was Ethan and Ethan like, how about this? And I'm like, yeah, let's do that. I don't know if I can play Latin, but I am Mexican, but I'm gonna try it.
What was your
And it turned out.
what was your favorite part of being in a band with Ethan? You can answer individually or together or however it's us out, but when you think back to it, like what was your
So
favorite
much
part?
fun.
Being in a band with Ethan was just awesome. Like, period. That was it. You know, gigs are great, fun times. Musicianship would be awesome, and especially with like Delcoa stuff, it just felt like I belonged.
Yeah, it was
Yep.
always,
It was
always
the
so
rock.
encouraging. Like no matter what direction we would go, he would push that to be like even cooler than you thought it would be. And he was so encouraging and so uplifting.
I always knew the gig would be fine if Ethan were on it.
Yep.
Like I just knew he was always just the one to step in and you know, MC the wedding if it needs to be MC.
That pretty much sums it up.
You know,
That is so true.
we all have those gigs. I still have those feelings too, like of just like where I'm sure you do, Ashley, or like where you have like a solo gig and you're like, fuck, don't want to go work right now, don't want to do this, but like, I mean, I still have those gigs like where it's like, oh, I got Tony King, I'm gonna be fine. I've got it's gonna be JTM3, it's gonna be me and Jay Poole. This is gonna be fine. I'm gonna get through this just okay. But it was exactly that. No matter what, with Ethan, it was like, oh, fucking Ethan's gonna be there. We're good.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be fun.
We're gonna get through this, and it's actually gonna be better than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's a big question for you guys. Have you ever considered a reunion with a different bass player? And if so, can you think of someone that could pull it off?
What
It's
Jay
It's
is
funny that
doing
you asked
right
that
now,
because I was thinking that same thing today. Like now that we're doing this
I thought that too.
podcast, I was thinking about that. If we were to ever do a Delcoa, you know, almost like a Foo Fighters type of
I was
thing.
gonna
Like
say, like, it's like Taylor Hawkins. Who the fuck would be the fucking drummer? Who's gonna be the bass
Yeah.
player?
Yeah, Zeppelin
who's
didn't
gonna be
do
the bass
anything
player?
after Bonham.
Right.
Man,
I think Jay Allen and I talked about you know, kind of shortly after Ethan passed. I think we talked about maybe just the four of us doing like kind of like a stripped down acoustic thing sometime.
I would
It'd be kind of
I would
nice.
way rather do that, or it be like a rotating cast of folks,
Oh,
like where like
I like that idea.
other special people that, and not even like necessarily them be the bass player, but just have them come in. I don't know, and like it's something that such a huge hole to or a role to fill that's impossible to fill other than
Just hearing the bass part.
yeah, and just having like somebody more so honor his presence from time to time. I don't know. It's a hard.
Well, that's the thing. When we did Let Me In at the MIM with JTM3, I felt honored that I got to sing Ethan's part.
Yeah.
And Matt sang Ashley's part. But I
Well,
was like,
we did.
I'm singing Ethan's part. I
Well,
felt
just
cool.
like having done the Wildflowers thing, Jay Poole and I doing the Wildflowers thing without Ethan, it was just like what the fuck, like it, like there was a.
it was weird.
It was
And and our bass player was awesome. Brendan did a great job. He's awesome. He's amazing. But you know, it goes back to that whole energy question. You know, Delcoa is the five of us.
Yeah.
It would be something else without Ethan.
Yeah.
Well, Brandon would be a first to come to mind, I think.
Yep.
Who is this?
Brendan McBride. Brendan McBride.
Brendan.
Brendan.
This is totally like inside baseball, but like I know that Ethan would fucking love Brendan, but it's like it's so
The
easy.
Guns N' Roses.
Do you guys
You know
feel
that
as
one,
if,
Chris?
Things like I so wish I could
oh,
call him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be something that we would call Ethan right now and be saying, "Hey, check this out. This is funny." And he would love it.
Yeah. Oh, dude, he would
Brendan,
fucking
Brendan, Big Brad.
you guys
stuff
feel
I would
like,
leave on his answering that's a message I would leave on his answering machine.
Absolutely.
It's like I have like a few like old Chucky Todd fucking messages on my phone that I will listen to every now and then that are just like and just
by any
ridiculous.
chance, did you listen to my interview with Todd? Did any of you
Yes.
get that by
I
now?
did, yeah.
Yes.
You know what Chucky
I
Todd?
laughed so hard. He was-
Can you believe that he had no idea about Chucky Todd? How did Ethan keep that from him? You know?
I think that he kept it from. I think he was kind of just like probably Todd didn't give a shit. Like it didn't come around to him enough.
Yeah, he probably heard it was like, what the fuck
Yeah,
are you
just
doing?
passing.
I remember being so surprised when I asked him, and he was like, probably referencing me to the possessed doll. I don't know. Or, and I was like, really? I remember thinking, like, really, Todd? You never caught wind of the Chucky Todd thing? But Jay, that's a good point, though. Maybe he did, but he just
It was never part of his zeitgeist. You know?
right. Do you guys feel that do you feel as if though Delcoa reached its potential? I mean, do you feel like you got to the apex, or
No. Yes and no. I mean, we for where we all were as human beings, yes.
Yep.
And then we all followed the things that we all needed to do, like with our
Yeah.
lives.
Yeah,
Such a fight. Like there's no like
I agree.
I think that we could have done more and still could continue to do more and still all like we're all still friends. Like there's no Delcoa is not over, obviously. We're all here together. Although one of the biggest pieces of us is not able to be physically part of this anymore. But as far as like reaching an apex or anything, like I mean I still continue to write music with Tony. I still want to write music a lot more with Ashley, like and do stuff that we never got to do.
So many things.
I think we're all going to collaborate. We're all going to know each other till the day that we die, like or till like I'm going to know all four of you guys that I'm seeing on the screen right now until I'm not around anymore.
man, dude, yeah.
I don't think it was that we reached some very high highs, especially for being the
Local.
very independent, local, unknown fucking band. We did some incredible fucking things. That I don't think could have happened if we tried. You know?
Yeah, man. And I think it lasted as long as it should have. I mean, it's kind of like, you know, you don't want to be Michael Jordan going back after a couple of seasons of baseball. You know, we kind of, you know, we left up here, and I'm kind of happy about that.
So
well, we all found ourselves through this whole process too.
Yep. And like I said, we're still doing stuff together. So I'm working with Tony, I'm working with Jay. Haven't worked with Ash in a while, but
well, I don't live there, and that I hold a lot of guilt over that. Like, just so you guys know, like it weighs on me real heavy that like I'm the one that moved away, and like it keeps me up at night sometimes. Well, but we all have our thing, right? That's one of my things.
But that doesn't end and like doesn't put like a like we're like I said, we're gonna know each other the rest of our lives, and we're still gonna always be who we are for the rest of our lives. And I cannot wait to play more music with all of you guys the rest of
yeah, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I was flattered when Ashley had her own little project going and was asked me to play drums on it.
Oh my
So
God,
you
that
know,
was so
being
you
able to work
did such a good
with
job.
her, that was so much fun. You know, continue
Well, and
to with J Pool and with Jay Allen. So
that was such an
Chris
honor to
and
have you
you.
play on that album, Tony. And I know there was like it was kind of funny. I don't know if speaking of things that not everybody may know about, but I don't know if anyone else but Jay Allen knows that there was a period of time where he had planned to come to Nashville for a few months when I was living there. And we had planned on making an album together. And then he called me and he's like, so I'm having a baby.
Yep.
Oh, me?
I'm not coming to Nashville.
Hey,
Who? Jay?
no, dude,
Yeah.
like weeks before I met
Oh,
Miranda,
Jay.
I had made plans. I had booked a gig on a cruise ship for 4 months, but I was gonna go to Nashville for about 3 months ahead of that time and be like,
Mhm.
ah, I'm gonna record a bunch of and nope, didn't happen.
Yeah, he was gonna come, you know, move into my futon in my
Yeah.
living room, and we were gonna write some songs and maybe record some stuff before he goes on his adventure. And I got us tickets even to go see the Black Crows at the Ryman. And and we were all excited about it. Then he called me. He's like, "Yeah,
I made it.
Oh,
I made a human.
So it makes me curious then, something you were saying earlier, Jay Poole, about, you feel as if though you guys kind of ended on a high note, and to a certain degree, you felt as if though you guys reached your potential, but it makes me curious, what happened? Why did you guys disband?
because I moved to Nashville."
So is that what it was? Like the band was active and Ashley was like, "Hey guys, I
Well,
have
I
Well,
think,
there
you know,
was some
she,
personal stuff, like I mean, maybe not everyone. I guess if there's some people listening who don't know, like Ethan and I were in a relationship for many years, and that started going south. And I think there were like at the same time there were a lot of stars that like unlined, if that makes sense. Like we at the same time, like while Ethan and I were kind of dismantling, and there was some other personal stuff that I won't get into. Like I think with a lot of the band members, and like things just kind of, and then Wrigley Mansion, they shoved us off, and so things were
yeah,
just
we
kind of
lost that gig.
quiet for a while.
Yep.
And then I moved, and then it was just kind of like, yeah. And then I think they did Mancoa for a while, and you guys can probably elaborate on it, but I'm guessing it just probably felt a little bit
well,
weird.
that's the thing.
It was weird.
We did do some Mancoa stuff, but it wasn't the same
It was not.
because we didn't have Ashley. It's
I
like,
honestly was surprised by that. Like the huge insecure part of me, like I'm not using this for a chance to you guys be like, no, like I'm really not. But like there was a really big part of me, like we're all insecure, we all have our things, like there I was like, they're not even gonna notice I'm gone. They're just gonna continue on and it's gonna be just fine. But
We
obviously,
did,
that's not
I
what
don't know, a
happened.
couple of gigs, and they were just okay, Ash.
Yeah.
They were just okay. They weren't magical.
Well, it wasn't like that was the thing. Like that's what made this band so fucking special, is that it's the sum of all its parts. Like and like you said, Ashley, like around the time there were just everybody kind of had other things that were starting to pull and push
Pop up.
everything in a direction of like I know that from me first moving back and be kind of becoming a singer-songwriter, I wanted to start, like, it was Jay and Ash from the very beginning.
Mhm.
And then it became Delcoa, and I was excited, and I was excited for you too, to where it was just like, okay, like I need to start making my own voice. Ashley needed to start making her own voice. Tony and myself started apparently making humans, and
Right. Well,
it's just and it was just like it was a new season, and
Yeah, everything evolves.
it didn't mean
Everything
anything.
changes.
yeah.
It didn't mean that we were all like there was nothing. There was no specific incident that was like, oh, Delcoa is done.
Right.
But
Yeah, it was just kind of like, yeah,
Right.
just kind of, again, as organically as it formed, it organically kind of turned into us all having our own things happen.
What
Well,
do
and
you
that's the thing too. Oh, just saying, like that's the thing too. Like the door was never shut
Yeah.
for this band. That's why we were able to do like 2 and 3, reunion shows.
Yeah.
good point. Yeah.
Yeah, we never really were like, hey guys, we're not a band, we're breaking up. Like that never happened. It was just
Nope.
Or
like
someone storming out or someone
There was no loss of love, and like as far as like I'm not gonna lie, like I was sad at times, like, oh man, we don't have I don't have this band going on anymore. But there was never a loss of love, and like that as I mean, up until this exact moment, like I love you guys all so much, and there's never been like a fuck, why are we not a band anymore? I understand why and where we are.
What a beautiful thing that we had in our lives and still do to a big extent. I mean it, and like you said, you don't appreciate it as much, although I did like it a lot when we were in the band, but
Right.
in hindsight, I'm like,
Oh,
I
sure.
just have great positive memories, and yeah, man, it was a beautiful thing. And it's
And on that note, what do you guys hope people take away from the music that you created with Delcoa? People who still listen or who may discover you perhaps from this interview or just come across you on a streaming service or something like that. What do you hope they take away from your music?
Special, and just there were no expectations, and that it was just special to be the 5 of us, and it all came from a real place. There was
we
no
made the music we wanted to make.
Yeah.
Yep. Nobody told us how to do it, where to do it. No producer or saying you got to play it this way, or you got to sound like this person. It was the 5 of us just saying, "Hey, let's come up with something."
Awesome answer. Man, I really appreciate you guys taking the time to meet with me tonight. I know it's hard to coordinate, especially with, all of you are busy musicians. I mean, every single one of you on any given night have gigs, and some of you still are, like Tony, you and Jay are still in a active band together. And I know that you probably perform with Jay Poole as often as you can and that kind of thing. So I really appreciate you doing that. And to honor Ethan, and I thought it would be cool for you guys to get together and talk about Ethan, but before we say goodbye, any last words or thoughts or memories or stories or, with Ethan in mind that you'd like to share, or anything that might have popped up in your mind while we were talking tonight?
Hey,
I'm
Chris,
just overwhelmingly sad that he's not here to be part of this.
Sure.
I
Would
mean,
be
I won't
so
lie,
cool if he was there.
I've been dreading this a little bit. I'm like equally dreading this as much as I was looking forward to it, and only because it's just I hear all the comments he'd be making and the laughters. And
Yeah.
it's just,
Yeah, the session what might have been a little bit better with him. I'll just add that. I mean, we did okay, but yeah,
yeah,
Awesome.
having that 5th Beatle here might have helped things a little bit.
yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, I think with your podcast, Chris, that you did with Jay Poole, it
Mhm.
was very cool that Jay Poole, when doing his record, doing this 4 Stick song that Ethan wanted to play on,
Mhm.
and Jay was able to sample Ethan's bass, because that's the one song that Ethan wanted to do.
Which, by the way, it's from Fishing 5 and Conversations. They were the 2 samples I used.
Oh, that's awesome. That's
Nice.
awesome.
And it's really cool how, I'm assuming, so which bass lines ended up on the podcast? Because Jay, when I was first doing this, I asked you if you had any bass tracks from Ethan that you thought might kind of work, and you steered me a little bit, and you said, when you're putting that together, kind of think of like how Seinfeld had that signature bass line at the beginning, or like a tag that you could use, and it's worked out great. So
Well,
I'm gonna guess.
what songs are those bass lines?
I know what it is. I'm gonna throw it out.
I'm gonna guess.
Go ahead.
I think it's from the Almost 11 CD. Is it Blue Rondo? Is that the bass line?
Next
No?
guess,
Okay.
please.
Well,
Fishing
It's
5.
Fishing 5.
Boom, boom. Yes.
Wait, which
Feeling
part?
like Chris.
Oh yeah, that part. I thought it was like the in between stuff.
So the very beginning of boom, boom,
Ba-doom.
boom,
Yeah.
Yeah,
boom,
that's
boom,
Fishing
boom,
5.
boom.
Yes.
Okay. And then before and
But-
after my
But there's
conversation.
the walking one.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, Tony, you're right. Yep.
Yeah.
That is Blue Rondo. Boom, boom, boom.
Before we go, Tony, give
Yes,
us some
sir.
give us some good boa constrictor signature Tony famous hidden track.
Let's see. What's funny, one of them I actually had Cobra Commander in mind when I did one of them.
Okay,
Remember Cobra Commander?
I do.
Delcoa Constrictor. Delcoa Constrictor.
I remember when
Anybody-
you guys I remember when you first had that album out, and I think we were doing like a Chris Tafoya band rehearsal or something, Tony, and you had the CD, and you were telling Randy and I, and Ethan was there too, and then you go, "Hey, Chris, Randy, check this out," and you put it on, and it was like a hidden track.
Yes, you have to let it play.
Yeah, you gotta let it play a little bit. And Randy and I were just like on the floor, man, like, oh my God, dude. It was, and then you started doing it in real time, live like that. It was just, dude, I
love how when you do it, when you used to do it, like one eye would close and you're like, there.
Delcoa Constrictor.
Whose idea was that to put that on the record?
We threw Tony in the booth because he would do it all the time. It's just at random, and then we were like, "Tony, go in the booth." He's like, "Why?"
Just go in the booth. Yeah,
Say a lot
I
of them.
remember that. Just keep going. Just keep going. I started sitting in the booth going, "What else do I do?" So I just started making up more voices. And then after like a couple, then I started kind of getting into it. You could tell as they went along.
You got warmed up.
Yeah, I did.
And y'all know when you wind up the Tony King, like it gets really good.
So for those
I learned it from the
listening,
best, Mr.
for those
Ethan
listening
Newman.
who want to listen to that original one, that's at the end of Roots, Bridges, and Branches.
The end right after Half Past Forever.
Okay.
Let it take a minute or two.
All right. So do yourself a favor and go listen to that because it is hilarious.
It's like what, about a minute? You have to wait for it?
Yeah, it takes a little while, but
So which means you can't hear it on a stream. You actually have to have the physical CD for that, huh?
You do.
Yeah.
See,
So
no,
there.
Roots and Branches is on no streaming services.
I love that.
oh,
Rare.
Can we fix
But Jay,
that?
did we talk about
can
it?
we
though?
remedy that, Jay?
We can fix that. I can put it up on DistroKid.
Yeah. You use DistroKid as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're
I
awesome.
was doing CD Baby, and then I realized DistroKid gives you much more good stuff.
Yeah, dude, I really like them. They're an awesome service. But what are you laughing about, Tony?
I'm just thinking of like how they did. I didn't know what was going on. And then,
Yeah. I know we
Hey, go in the booth.
recording.
before, can sing some background vocals. Oh, okay. Which song?
Ashley, come in the hotel room. Why? Just come here. Just go to the bathroom. Why?
And some other poor girl got the. She got scared.
I
and
can
said,
totally
"You."
see you doing that too, Tony.
I don't know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Jay Allen knows about the Wrigley Mansion scares. You were walking down with Ethan.
Stairs, dude. Every time, like the load in and out of Wrigley Mansion, and Ethan too. But like Tony would quickly break down his drums, and like we all had to walk down this dark path to get down to the boat where we had to park our shit, and then drive all the way back up to the top to grab our stuff. And so many times, like I was always lagging because I'd go talk to people, have another drink or like whatever, and start breaking our stuff down, and then walk down. And many times I'd come around a corner and just all of a sudden Tony King just I'm like, oh my God. Myself and look like, and Tony just I got you. I got you. And it got to the point to where like I would start walking down by myself and like just kind of start walking around corners and be like, I see you, Tony. Tony, I see you. And then I'd finally get to my car and pull up, and like they'd be like, "No, Tony left like 30 minutes ago." I'm like,
It got in your head.
oh, dude, it got way in my head. It probably still happens a little bit. Like if I'm just like even like go out in my backyard and it's dark and be like, "See you, Tony."
Tony, you should totally go to his house and freak him out.
And do that.
Yeah, do it. Do it.
No, but
Oh,
those-
man.
Because I love to watch all these scared videos, and if someone does it to me, I get all mad. Like, God dang it! Like my kids do that to me now. I'm like, stop doing that. God, give me a heart attack.
Man, I feel like we could go on longer, man, but
Yep.
any last minute memories or anything else? Just trying to make sure I get all the
So I'm just so incredibly fucking grateful because of, and I think I said it in our podcast when you and I talked, Chris,
Mhm.
and I was in the same boat, Ashley. Like I avoided our initial first podcast. I know you'd reach out to me like, "Hey, I'm doing a podcast about Ethan." I was like, "I'll get back to you. I don't know," but like I'm so grateful, as we all are, because I mean Ethan was the glue of
Ooh, man.
Of all of this, I'm looking at each individual face, and he's the reason why we're all talking today.
Why
sure.
we're here.
and but I'm so grateful for all of you guys and the trajectory that my my life is where it is because of Ethan, but it's also because of all you guys, like all of you guys.
Amen.
Like we're all talking
Yeah.
about Ethan, but we're all here together, and he was a big catalyst in that. But I am so grateful for all of you guys in my life, and like I said before, I'm going to know you guys the rest of my life, and I'm extremely and incredibly grateful for that, and I can't wait to have more talks like this, whether people hear them or not. And Chris, again, thank you so much for doing all of this and for
Yeah, I
keeping
echo all that.
keeping Ethan's spirit alive. Is it's not a hard nor an easy thing to do. Like I mean,
Right.
his will always be alive, but you are keeping it in the forefront, and I'm very grateful for what you've been doing, Chris. And it's been a lot of work on
It's
you. So thank you.
been therapeutic, man. Thank you.
Oh,
Hello.
right on, guys.
Love you, Chris.
Right on. I love you guys too, and it's been amazing thing. I mean, I felt compelled to do it, and like I tell everyone, I couldn't do it without you guys, without everyone who's participated. And it is just a testament to how Ethan was, and we're all in Ethan's web, and we're all interconnected, and he was just such a beautiful person, and it's my pleasure to do it. So thank you guys for being
Amen.
part. I'm
I also
glad.
Thanks,
feel
Chris.
like I took away from what other people are going to say. So please, that same question to everybody. I want to hear what everybody wants to say.
Jay, you said it really well. I can add nothing.
Right on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I echo that. I mean, I think we all feel the same way.
Well, I'm glad that we all take solace in it, and it's interesting because I've been able to kind of disassociate a little bit once I have an episode edited and finished, and it's out there. I enjoy it just as much as I hope everyone else does, and I cry and laugh, and I feel like he's there with me, and even if it was just a couple of us that were listening or whatever, it's like it's the least I could do for what Ethan has done for me and for all of us. I mean, he was
Exactly.
such a huge force in all of our lives and influence on our lives that it's like it just had to be. It was like in the rock, I'm just kind of getting the other pieces off the rock and it's forming. So right on. Thank you guys for taking the time to talk to me tonight. I love all of you. And when you get to the point that you're doing some kind of an acoustic Delcoa thing, or whether you have, guests come in to kind of fill in on the heavy end of things, make sure that you let me know in advance, and I'm going to do my best to be there in person.
That'd be great.
Oh, that's real cool. Ashley, what do you got there?
Well, Jay's got it on his skin.
Is that an original prop?
Is that from the actual cover?
This is from
That-
yeah,
Wow.
this is from our
Nice.
yeah, this is from our it's our Earth Moon. This is from the actual CD release party. This is
And who created that?
His mom.
my
right?
mom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your mom made that, huh?
And then it
Wow.
kind of became our logo and Jay put it on a skin.
Very cool.
Right on.
Nice.
Now it's kind of dark. It's kind of dark, Jay. So what is that you're showing off? What tat is that?
That's
Oh,
our
really?
first
Oh,
CD.
cool. Right on, man.
That's so cool.
Well, guys,
Sorry, I don't have any
love you.
ink, guys. No ink. Sorry.
Ditto. I got
Motherfuckers. I'm just kidding.
Thanks for taking the time.
Love you guys.
Thank you, Chris. Love you
Good night,
guys.
Chris. Good night, Ashley. Good night, Tony. Good night,
Love you guys
Jay.
all so much.
Good night, John Boy.
Talk in the next couple days.
We can Brady
Ash,
bunch it.
I miss you so fucking much. Please catch up. I actually have a very funny. No, I'm not even gonna do it right now on a podcast because that's.
Well, hang out.
Bye.
Let's say goodbye and hang out for a minute.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Goodbye.
Take care, guys. Thanks again.
See you
Love
guys.
you, Ethan, and see you guys very soon.